So it seems, though, the Cavs are resilient. You said you like the way they play, Skip. Stephen A., let me ask you this. We know it'll at least go 5 games in this series, but have you changed your prediction?
No, I have not.
Okay.
No, I have not. The reason why I picked the Cleveland Cavaliers to win this series, I never, ever, ever once said that the Cleveland Cavaliers are the better team. I know that the Golden State Warriors are the best team. They won 67 games. They're in the Western Conference. It's tough. The flip side to it, however, is that they've never, ever, ever been here before. LeBron James, this is his 6th trip. It's not some reserve we're talking about here. This is the best player in the world, the superstar, who happens to play on the other team. And he is standing in your path. He knows all the tricks, not to mention the fact when stuff gets tight. What did we experience last night? We saw, and this is what makes this series very, very interesting for me right now. As much as it may annoy people to hear this, the referees are going to play a role in this series. And here's why. Because if the referees allow them to play the way they allowed them to play last night, Cleveland's going to win this series because they allowed them to play physical. But if they don't allow it and every little knick-knack call gets made, like it has been the case over the last several years that we've lamented about the NBA game. It's not the bad boy Pistons, the era of the bad boy Pistons. It's not the New York Knicks with Ewing and Oakley and Anthony Mason, God rest his soul. You know, it's not that time. This is a different time. If the game gets called tight, then obviously you're not going to be allowed to be as physical. And if you're not allowed to be as physical, that's going to be to the decided disadvantage of the Cleveland Cavaliers. The calls that were not made last night may very well get made in games 3, 4, and 5. You got to keep your eyes on that, because if ticky-tack fouls are being called, Cleveland's going to be in trouble. But if they're not being called, Golden State may have some trouble.
LeBron James didn't get a single call down the stretch of the 4th quarter or overtime last night.
I agree.
Okay? Now, you said Cleveland got away with playing physical basketball on defense, right? And rebounding the basketball.
But so to Golden State.
Okay, but do you think LeBron at home is going to start getting those calls?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. And see, that's where it gets tricky, and that's where it gets dicey. We've seen on many, many occasions, like, for example, there have been times where conspiracy theorists have come out because whether it's Game 6, Sacramento at L.A. at the Staples Center back in 2001 and all of this other stuff, or other places where you've looked at it and you said referees definitely had something to do with the outcome. This is playoff basketball, and you just never know when that's going to rear its ugly head. I think how the games are called, if the game is called consistently relative to what we saw last night, I'm going to stand by my prediction that Cleveland's going to win this series in 6 games, because they're going to play a physical brand of basketball, and Golden State's not going to be able to deal with it.
Okay, but conspiracy theory last night would have been LeBron would have gotten all those calls so they could extend the series another game, and the ratings would continue, because this has been a high-rated series.
But you're thinking about the calls. I'm thinking about the way the game is called.
Okay.
Yes, he didn't get those calls. You're absolutely right. But there were calls Golden State didn't get either. And the physical brand of basketball that Cleveland is playing, Golden State doesn't want that. They want no parts of that. These are snipers. These are long-range marksmen. There's not one single player on the Golden State Warriors who's comfortable playing with their back to the basket. Not one.
But they can play physical basketball when they get pressed to. I thought they played physically against Memphis. Remember, against Memphis, they're down 2-1 at Memphis for game 4.
But Memphis doesn't have LeBron.
Okay. Well, I get that, and that's true. That's a fair point. I am sticking with Golden State in 7. And all I know for sure off last night, thank you. On an emotional, psychological level, it was human nature for Golden State to take its foot a little bit off the gas once Kyrie went down. I didn't think they played with quite the physicality or the urgency they did in Game 1, because you're just human. You know they're down an all-star on top of an all-star, and so you come out and you say, we got this. You get off to a pretty good start. They got up a little bit at the first, and it's like, we got this. And then you think it's teeter-tottering back and forth, and all of a sudden you say, we still got this.
Right.
We're here. We're right here. Steph's going to get it. He's going to get in rhythm. He's going to get hot. Clay's going to stay hot. And you don't, because the urgency isn't quite there. I'm here to say in Game 3, their urgency will be back, because this team has a depth of character. It does.